Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Bridge Podcast, where, as you know, we're connecting you, the community, with commerce and leaders in the city here and in the community. And so we're privileged to have a great guest again. As you know, that you can find us on Tuesday mornings, 11 a.m., irlonestar.com/TBPTX for the Bridge Podcast. But today, I want to welcome Eddie Kober from Chick-Fil-A to the Bridge Podcast. Welcome, man.
Thank you.
Man, you've been from basically, cradle to now. It seems like you've been with Chick-fil-A. So what, more than 3 decades, and you've been an owner or I guess they call them operators, for over 20 years, right? And so tell us how this all started. Like, I think, if I remember right, because we've known each other, and I think you were working there in college maybe, and then when you got out, but take us through why Chick-fil-A, and then what was so magnetic about it to keep you there for 30 years.
Yeah, so I grew up in the business. My dad's a Chick-fil-A operator. Okay. He's still an operator. 43 years. So I grew up in the business. We used to go to the work with him, and when I was 13 years old, I actually started working in the restaurant. So he would pick me up on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and I'd unload the truck and do all that. And then when I was 16, I was actually working show up at a scheduled time and all that.
Yeah.
Did all that, worked all through high school. I went to college in the same area where I grew up, so I worked for him all through college. And when I I wanted to be a doctor is what I wanted to do. Graduated and started thinking about medical school and all that. During that time, I got a phone call from Chick-fil-A, and they asked me if I could go to Birmingham, Alabama for a few months. Went to Birmingham, and I operated, they call them an inner manager at the time. So I was an inner manager. I was running a restaurant from September until January. And that's where I realized that this is what I want to do. I was down in the valley, that's where we're from, down South Texas. Okay. And all the other operators that my dad knows that we grew up with always treated me amazing. Well, I'm thinking they're treating me amazing because my dad, they work with my dad. They're just treating me like they would treat him. So when I was away from home, and during that assignment that I was on, I had one of my managers passed away. Was killed on the way to work. And my team was devastated. They had worked with him for a couple of years. The team was devastated, and it was a very low volume restaurant, so there was not very many team members. So 18 of them couldn't work. Wow. This happened in the middle of the week. Well, I put a message out. I didn't know anybody there. I mean, I knew so I put a message out and said, "Hey guys, we had a tragedy in the restaurant, and I need some help." That next morning, an operator from that market, his name is Constantine Zabuka, still one of my best friends today. Showed up as he's an operator. He's been an operator for at that point, he'd been operating 25 years or whatever. Yeah, wow. He shows up with 10 team members, and they help me operate the restaurant for the next 3 or 4 days.
All hands on deck.
All hands on deck. He's back there, 25-year operator, back there breading for me, breading chicken. Just blew me away. Yeah. So it wasn't just my experience in the valley was not just, oh, these guys know me, so they're good guys, It's just the way it is at Chick-fil-A, so pretty amazing.
It's a culture, man, and it's obvious. It's almost, and I would think it's intentional, but you go to any Chick-fil-A, really any part of the country, and it's almost like you picked the one up here in Conroe and set it down in Birmingham or wherever, because obviously there's a template that works and the culture that works, and people are different, but still you can just, it's nice that they can just plug that philosophy in pretty much anywhere because it works.
That's right.
And I laugh because if I ever go anywhere else to eat, which is rare if you ask my daughter, like if it's up to her, it's rare. So she would eat there every day, every meal. But, if I go to a different place to eat and I hear someone say my pleasure afterwards, I'm betting they either worked at Chick-fil-A or they go there a lot or they know somebody that. So the my pleasure is kind of the tagline for Chick-fil-A, which is kind of neat. But, man, so you've been running the show for a little bit here in Conroe. You got one in Willis, you got one in Conroe. There's actually now in South Conroe, there's a third one, but you've got the one on 105. Man, so when you guys are looking for people, you just mentioned kind of what the DNA you're looking for, kind of, just that servant, that team first, just be good to people. Man, are you seeing nowadays that it's harder, or maybe it's okay to find those still? There's still diamonds in the rough out there because you hear, where culture's going, what young people are doing, what they're thinking. Was it better then? Is it cool now? Like, are you still getting to find those good people, obviously?
We're blessed. We live in a great area. I think there's a certain type of person that's drawn to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
And it's up to us to make sure when they get there that we're able to really provide that culture and the vision that we're trying to achieve. We've been blessed. I would say the whole finding people period over the last couple of years has really gotten difficult.
For sure.
But the kind of person that we're looking for is still comes to Chick-fil-A. So it's a good thing.
And it is what you said was key, because I didn't even think about it till you just said it. But the people that come to apply to work there, they kind of know what's the expectation, right? They kind of know what they need to be about and what kind of person you're looking for. Yeah. So it's probably not that hard to weed through, and toss a few bad apples. You probably get a good bunch of apples.
Well, it's funny. You will get people that'll come and we'll do an interview with them, and they'll say, I've wanted to work here since I was 10 years old.
I believe that, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's just they've had a great experience, or they enjoy our food or whatever. But they feel welcome there, and that's awesome. I think it's great.
Yeah, and so you met your wife. Actually, she worked for Chick-fil-A, right, in marketing, and so you guys have, for years, we've known each other. I was thinking about this the other day. Like, it's been almost 10 years. I think it's 9-ish, something like that. But you guys met each other there, and so you've this philosophy of Chick-fil-A, I would think, has sort of become a family culture. Like, I could probably go into your house and maybe even feel like I'm at a Chick-fil-A because of how service oriented and how just kind and nice, and I know your family. So, man, are you seeing Conroe differently? I mean, you came here. How long you been in the Conroe location?
21 years
20
now.
years. Okay.
Yeah.
So Conroe's a little different.
Yeah.
In a good way and in kind of a growing pain way.
Yeah.
But what are you most excited about so far? Because you've been here long enough. The sample size is big enough for you to make a determination like this thing's getting ready to just blow up.
Absolutely. The growth is incredible. I was thinking about this last night. So in 2001, when we opened, my Chick-fil-A was the only Chick-fil-A serving. This thinks like I'm being over exaggerating, but so about 5 miles east, about 15 miles west, and about 30 miles north. So about a 450 square mile area that my Chick-fil-A was serving. There was no other Chick-fil-A's.
Wow.
So all the way to Huntsville, all the way to Montgomery. And we needed every single square mile and every person in those square miles to support our restaurant, just because there was not a lot of density back then.
Yeah.
I think the leaders from Conroe and Montgomery County have done a great job to make this an attractive place to raise family and to live and work and live life here. So now in that same 450 square miles, there are 5 Chick-fil-A's now. And the business that I did in 2001 is 20 times that amount of business in this year. So it's pretty amazing.
That's awesome.
And just to keep on thinking about, it's only going to keep on growing. We're on the list every year for the top 10 or whatever places to live and all that. So it's gonna keep growing.
It's definitely more concentrated than 20 years ago. Like, you've got just this huge concentration of people now. Yep. So when you said dense, it's pretty dense around 105 alone.
Yeah.
And just 336 around, and it's all just kind of, there's a lot of people. But that's good for you. And I wanted to ask also, like, you've seen it grow. You know where it's kind of going. We can sort of tell. But what kind of measures do you guys take to not let the growth sort of outrun you? Like, how do you keep up with that?
Yeah.
And especially to your point, the staffing's been a challenge in the
Yeah.
last, and I assume it's getting a little better. Maybe it's going to get even more efficient. But man, what are you guys doing to sort of stay even at best, or maybe even ahead of the curve if
Yep.
you're lucky?
So we have something in our business that we call critical success factors.
Okay.
Leadership, talent, customer experience, sales and brand growth, financial return. And I have somebody in charge of all of those areas,
Okay.
and we talk about them every day. Keeps us super balanced. It's not all profit, or it's not all people, or it's not all sales or whatever. You got to talk about all of them all the time. If you take your eye off of any one of those pieces, you'll when you get back to it, you're like, man, we're behind. So always talking about those items and having people that understand what we're trying to do. It's just that's super important. That's how we stay on top of it. I have 4. We have 4 HR people. In fast food, you don't think of it.
Wow.
We lead our restaurant like it's a regular any other business. It's just not we don't just show up every day and be like, let's see what happens today.
Yeah.
We're super organized and we make sure that we're on top of those things.
Yeah, and I would think Chick-fil-A Ivory Tower had to create some sort of formal document and criteria for measuring that on a ground level, because like you said, if that trickles down to let's just spitball and see what sticks, and then just kind of all peek out and see if the drive-thru's full or not, and then we'll roll with it. Yeah, you can't, and especially as big as Chick-fil-A. How big is Chick-fil-A? Like as a company, like how many stores? Like is it Fortune what? Would you say? I don't even know.
So we'll do sales this year will be about $20 billion this year.
Okay.
That's 3,000 restaurants. Something interesting that I heard at that event that I went to a few days ago was, so the average Chick-fil-A volume is as much as Starbucks, Subway, and McDonald's combined. And we're only open 6
Get
days a
out.
week.
Get
so
out of here.
yeah, so you combine their unit average volume, those 3, and compared to ours, and we still do more than they do. It's pretty amazing.
I love it.
It's
I
wild.
love that. No, that's a
Yeah.
great stat, man. I guarantee there's some people listening right now that are kind of like, where can I Google that to verify?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's pretty mind-boggling.
Yeah.
I would have never thought.
Crazy.
McDonald's,
Yeah.
Starbucks, and what?
And Subway.
Dang. Okay. Well, you guys are legit. I guess you know what you're doing. So what do you guys? So talk about the process, and without getting real granular, but like for the public that are kind of like, okay, I come to Chick-fil-A, I love it. The wait's worth it because it's pretty efficient. Like if you were to look from across the street at the drive-thru and like there's no way I'm not getting in that line.
Yeah.
But that thing actually kind of moves, and you guys have created this amazing procedure to however you're doing it, it's working. But what do you say to the people that are like, okay, we need about 3 other ones here? And I know there's rules where you can't. It's not like, I don't want to mention other companies' names, but it's not like a mattress store that can be across the street from itself, or a gas station. So how do you guys determine, and when can we expect maybe some other to kind of absorb some of the volume and demand?
So Chick-fil-A has some metrics that they use to determine when it's time for another restaurant.
Okay.
It is time for another restaurant already in Conroe.
Really?
Even with the new one that opened a couple years ago, it's growing that fast. They call it drive-off statistics.
Okay.
So they start to measure how many people are doing exactly what you said. They're pulling up. They're like, I'm not waiting.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's fast and all that, it's still not fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really about the customer experience. If the customer feels like, man, it's too crazy, which it can get too crazy. It's it's, the parking lot's not meant for all those cars, or even inside there's not enough dining room seats or whatever the case may be. It's time for another restaurant, and they're looking all the time, and they're getting closer and closer, just because of the volume is there and the customer demand is there.
Yeah, and I would say too, just because I know you, and I'll give a plug though, we can there's something we can do as a community to help in your efforts to like get another one if you really want one.
Yep.
Like maybe your hands are full with what you have, but I know we can like write letters, or we can send emails, or we can say, hey, Eddie runs a tight ship, and whatever you're doing next in Conroe, we want him to run it or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that true? We can have a voice in that?
Absolutely. Whenever a customer comes to ask us something, and I'll say, well, I can try and take care of it in the restaurant, but if you really want something to happen, contact the home office and let them know that, or the support center, and let them know what you're wanting, and they're if they get enough of those requests, they'll listen.
Yeah, and you probably can't give us sort of a little bit of a peek at the answers to the test on where they're thinking maybe the next one might go.
So they're talking about it'll be between this restaurant and the Willis restaurant, the 105 restaurant, and there's also probably one between my restaurant and the Montgomery restaurant. So somewhere in the middle, maybe McCaleb Road in that area, something like that.
Yeah.
And the one over here, maybe something on 336 somewhere. The traffic is both areas of traffic.
Kind of
is
like
just
northeast 336.
correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, I could see that. I
Yep.
could see that. Well, that's good to know. I mean, because there's enough demand, of course.
Absolutely.
And during COVID, I would say it was maybe even worse to look at that line.
Right.
But now we can all go in if we're willing to get out of our car and actually take a few steps and do something active. So that's good. That's been a relief. What do you guys? So take us through a little bit, just because I'm wired management, leadership type minded. So this is maybe for me. Hopefully somebody else gets something out of this. But what do you guys look for in that next step for like a leader? Like you see an emerging, this kid's got it. Whatever that is, if he's desiring to be in Chick-fil-A as a career, like what kind of qualities are going to be that get that kid to the next level in leadership with you guys?
So in my restaurant, we have like 6 different levels of leadership: team leader, certified team leader, assistant manager, certified. All those if you're certified, that means that you are able to train anybody below you, and also for that position.
Okay.
Sometimes somebody gets promoted to manager or assistant manager or whatever, and they're really good at what they do, but they don't have the skills. They don't communicate well, maybe, and they can't pass their knowledge on.
Okay.
So that's the biggest thing is communication.
Not all players make great coaches, right?
That's
gotcha.
it. That's it. And we don't hold them back. We just, hey, this is, they might not move any much further up from where they're at because we require the communication piece. But if that's the case, we help them. Mm-hmm. Hey, go take classes on how to communicate better.
Yeah. Especially if they
find
desire.
a mentor, get somebody that can help you with this.
Yeah, especially if they want to.
Especially if they want to move up.
Yeah,
yeah. And we're real honest with them. We share with them, hey, this is the opportunity that you have.
Yeah.
And you need to work on these things. So absolutely.
Yeah. So there's opportunity, and then to run a store or operate and be sort of in your shoes. Are those opportunities out there, or is it so super competitive that? Man, you may be waiting 5 years for your own store, or is it? How does that work?
Super competitive. So Chick-fil-A opens about 100. I think this year, like about 150 restaurants they'll open up, and they get about 100,000 applications a year. Now, a bunch of those are from internal folks, like my managers or whatever, and then a bunch of people are from the outside as well. So it doesn't have to be. It does not have to be internal.
Okay.
I think the last numbers I heard were like 60 to 70% of them are given to internal folks.
Yeah.
And then the other 30% obviously is external folks. But there are no requirements. There's no, you need to have 10 years of Chick-fil-A. There's no requirements in that. It's all based on your story and your leadership and those kind of things. How you communication, huge.
Yeah.
Wow. But that's how it works.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, because I think. I see, and let's suffice it to say, the kids that work there, some of them are, it's a high school job or it's a summer job or whatever, and maybe they've got med school aspirations.
Yeah.
And I do have a question. Were you getting into med school? Like, were you about to take the MCAT?
No, I was about to take the MCAT.
Okay, you hadn't taken it yet.
I hadn't taken it yet. That's when I had decided I was like, but.
It's good that you decided when you did, though.
That's right. That's right.
You get admitted to med school, and then you're like,
I forget that.
No,
That's
drive-through.
Right.
That's the drive-through for me. Well, no, there's maybe there's kids that want to do that and go that route, but for the kid that's okay, he's coming up through high school, and he's like, I know a lot of people that work there. I know the owner. I've seen them in the community. I see what they do. They give back. They serve. I want to do that. I want to be that.
Right.
So, your advice to them would be what? Start out just like come in as soon as you're 16. Like get to know the business as early as you can, or what?
So I have 5 guys that have worked for me that are now Chick-fil-A operators, and I tell them from the very beginning, start to live your life like you are an operator.
Okay.
So if
Before you are.
So
Yeah.
so say you got in the process to interview with Chick-fil-A. If you were like, when I become an operator, I'm going to start.
Yeah.
I'm going to start being involved in the community. When I become an operator, I'm going to start saving money. When I become an operator, it's too late.
Yeah.
You have to start doing that already, so that when they want to, they want to start seeing, or they want to see that you're already doing those things.
Yeah.
And we talk about it all the time. Interviewing skills, practice those things. Community service or whatever it is. Having some money in the bank. Don't blow all your money and all those things. When you're selected, Chick-fil-A is giving you this huge opportunity. It's very different from, they're not looking for people who have a lot of money in the bank. It's not a regular franchise. Chick-fil-A provides they buy the property, they build a building. They are basically selecting you for your character and those things, your leadership, to lead a business that they've paid for.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's really amazing.
Wow, that's great, man. I mean, I love their business model is just, it works, man.
Incredible.
And it's obvious, it's got a track record to prove it. Man, it's cool to watch how many that are going to be in this area. Just the thought of that, I have to tell my daughter. But so what's next for you? Like, you could do this forever, I'm sure, but there might be some other things on that you may want to go give the MCATs a shot. I don't know. No, what's next for you though? I mean, maybe a couple more of these and I don't know, kids, grandkids following your footsteps. I mean, I don't know. What's a pipe dream for you?
For me, it's all about growth. Somebody asked me that the other day, and obviously, I'm super, super driven, and if another opportunity comes up to have another restaurant, I want it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah.
I would love the opportunity to do that. But also keep on growing in our business. Keep on growing my leaders. Growing in the way I take care of my family.
Yeah.
Those kind of things. Just keep on growing all the way around.
Yeah, building skill set. Because I think the message too, and the takeaway for the audience would be, like, we're looking at somebody who's really accomplished everything that there is to accomplish on a local level at a Chick-fil-A, right? Yeah. And short of being at corporate and doing a VP role or something, which you probably could do if you really wanted it, I think the takeaway is, you're never done.
Nope.
I mean, you've never arrived,
right?
You're still probably learning things from your team members that, and vice versa, of course. But I would think that it's a two-way street, and the fact that you're humble enough to be open to learn that kind of stuff, I think that's a message for kids. Like, you don't become a manager or an operator and you're just like, all right, everybody's beneath me. Everybody does what I say, and I have nothing left to prove or gain.
Oh, yeah.
And I hear you saying something different. So that's really cool, man. I will give another plug for another one of your, because we mentioned your wife and how you met and those kinds of things. And you guys have embarked on another one, another business outside of Chick-fil-A. And I don't really want to mention any company names, but no, Summer Moon Coffee. I mean, you guys have opened this, and it's been, what will it be, a year in the fall?
July 31st is a year for
Oh,
it.
July.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's already a year, man.
I'm super proud. My wife's doing awesome. She fell in love with that product and with that brand, and during the pandemic reached out to the family who owns that company, and before you knew it, she was a franchisee, and now she's doing it. It's pretty awesome. How did
she come across? You were obviously in somewhere other town,
yeah, so,
Austin or something.
We had one of the guys who became a Chick-fil-A operator out of my restaurant, Anthony Barajas, had the Chick-fil-A in Kyle, Texas, which is just outside of Austin, and they have Summer Moon there, and we tried the product one day, and Andrew was like, "Man, this is awesome. Yeah. This is so good." And she reached out to them, and they said, "We're not. This was 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. We're not franchising at the moment." So no problem. We didn't, nothing else. About a year later, in the middle of the pandemic, she gets a phone call and says, "Hey," or an email, "We're starting a franchise. What do you think?" And that's during the pandemic. It's a little scary time to be starting a business. But my wife was like,
"Doesn't get
I
any
believe in
riskier
it.
than that.
Let's do it."
Yeah.
So I supported, all I could support, and she's doing awesome.
I know you guys, and I know that's just how you're wired. Like, when you feel like something can work, like, let's do it. I don't
right.
care what everybody says won't
Yeah,
happen. I
yeah.
don't care about a worldwide pandemic. Like, let's bring it on. Like, let's do it in the hardest time to
right.
open a. But I mean, it speaks to, which is another reason I love doing this podcast, is that it speaks to the community.
Yep.
And speaks to Conroe and the people that kind of rallied around you guys. Because I was at the, kind of the pre-opening, the soft opening, the grand opening, and man, just watching everybody.
That was incredible.
That was nuts.
The support on that, that grand opening day and since. But it was incredible. I mean, you think you're opening a restaurant in the middle of, or a shop in the middle of the pandemic, supply chain issues, talent
Staff,
issues.
yeah.
I mean, it was, and still to be successful, a year into it, and she's doing awesome.
Yeah, and so your son and is actually your whole family pretty much works there.
Yeah.
Like, and so it's fun to watch. It's never not busy. They've adopted probably some efficiencies from Chick-fil-A because it's very efficient in there, and so no, I like it. So, man, what do you have for the audience if we're gonna kind of give them one little last parting shot before we land the plane on this? Like, what's your advice to Conroe? Give us some advice about kind of the growing pains that we're going to see and are seeing, and then maybe just give us something that you love most about Conroe so far, and you've been here a while, so you're technically native Conroe at this point. So what do you like about it, and then what's your advice to the citizens of Conroe?
So I think I've shared this with you before, but what I really love about Conroe, so when I moved here 21 years ago, it was, if you weren't from here, it was kind of intimidating a little bit, I grew up, like I said, in South Texas, but when we got here, we were welcomed like we had been here for like I had grown up here. It just everybody was super welcoming, and we have friends. And I tell you this also. Yeah. My son was our son was our baseball player, so everybody knew Wyatt, and we made friends with his friends' parents, and that's how it started, and LJ also, and just really got to know everybody, and just. I love how welcoming the town is. It just been a great place for us to grow up. I was only 23 years old when I got here. Yeah. I was a youngster,
young business owner too. I can imagine there's some territorial, maybe some more seasoned veterans that are kind of protective of the community and have been here their whole life. I can imagine there might have been some challenges.
Yeah, who's this young guy?
But they kind of open arms,
absolutely.
And that's awesome, man.
Absolutely, it was awesome.
So talk to us who are sitting back kind of like, okay, it's good that we're growing, but man, some of this is a little bit hard to swallow. Like, what do you say to the citizens?
I would say have some grace for our leaders and our politicians and who are making decisions. Because some of them are going to seem like, hey, maybe we're going backwards or whatever. But sometimes to move forward, you have to make some tough decisions. I think that's a big one. Patience. I remember in 2000, and I know the dates because it was painful, but 2007, 8, and 9, when 45 was under construction, those 3 years were tough. Really? They closed exits and all that kind of stuff. And that was, I was in my 5 or 6 years into my business here in Conroe, and that's when you really start rolling as a new business. And we took a huge hit for those 3 years.
Wow.
But look where we are now.
Yeah. So just patience is what I'm hearing. Yeah. And it's, I asked that question to a lot of people, and that's the sort of the common theme is like, just hold off on making any sort of judgments or determinations or negative, because it can get a little bit frustrating, but it's going to be worth it.
Sure.
We take one step back and we're going to take like 5 or 6 forward. So no, I've appreciated you being here, man. It's been good to talk to you again, and I see you a lot. So I feel like we're just kind of meeting on the street again, and we're just having a little longer conversation. So I appreciate you being here, man. And on behalf of the audience, I thank Eddie Kober. He's been Eddie Kober. We've been the Bridge Podcast. Stay connected.